How do you get that classic yeasty flavor in a keto roll without using sugar or gluten? It took me a lot of trial and error, but I finally cracked it. These keto yeast rolls actually rise, they smell like real bread, and they have that soft, fluffy texture that you've been missing in your low-carb holiday rolls. Let's start with the fun part, which is waking up the yeast. I'm using dry active yeast in this recipe, and we need to feed it and bring it to life so that we can puff up our rolls. I'm going to use heavy cream instead of milk or sugar to feed it. Start by warming a 1/4 cup of heavy cream in the microwave for around 15 to 20 seconds. You want to warm it until it gets to a temperature of 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Don't crank up the heat too hot or else you're going to kill the yeast before it gets a chance to do its thing. I found that a max temperature of around 120 degrees is perfect, and then I usually place the bowl of yeast on top of my oven that's preheating, and I find that just keeps it warm enough to keep growing. So I'll stir in 1 1/4 teaspoons of dry active yeast. Again, this is not the quick rise kind, it's just the regular old active yeast. And I found that the natural sugar in the cream is enough to feed the yeast. Yes, heavy cream has sugar in it, just a little bit, but it's just enough for it to start to come alive. After around 10 minutes, you'll start to notice that it turns like this murky color, and it's thicker, and it smells wonderfully yeasty. And you might even start to notice some bubbles. That's all of those happy little cultures starting to grow. It's like magic. While my yeast is multiplying, let's work on the dry ingredients. To a large bowl, add in 2 cups of almond flour, then a 1/4 cup of oat fiber. The oat fiber you get from the husk of the oat. It's the part that's pure fiber, so it's 0 net carbs. I like using it in keto baking because it gives breads and rolls that light, airy texture without adding density or grittiness to it. And it also helps soak up some of that moisture to keep our dough soft and fluffy instead of dense. Then add in 2 teaspoons of powdered allulose or your favorite sugar-free sweetener. I like to add sweetener to my rolls because it gives the rolls that hint of sweetness that regular yeast rolls have. It also helps brown the rolls as they bake. Then add a teaspoon of baking powder to help with the rise, and then a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I actually came up with this recipe a few years ago when I filmed my Keto Thanksgiving for One video. It's the one where I show you how to make a full keto-friendly Thanksgiving dinner for just yourself if you're the only one eating low carb. I must have tested that recipe at least 10 times before I got it right. The only problem is that it only made 2 rolls, which is perfect if you're just making them for yourself for Thanksgiving. But ever since then, you guys have been asking for a bigger batch. And now that my cookbook is finally out of the way and finished, I had time to make up a big batch recipe for you. But before we get back to baking, let's talk about something that I use every day, which is Element Electrolytes, who is sponsoring today's video. I've been drinking Element for years, and honestly, it is my go-to way to stay hydrated, whether I'm filming, lifting weights, chasing my boys around from practice to practice. Each packet has electrolytes your body actually needs: 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. And when I'm properly hydrated, I find that I eat less and I actually have more energy throughout the day. And the flavors are so good. If you want some recommendations, my favorites are grapefruit, orange, and citrus. If you want to try it, head to drinkelement.com/KetoFocus and you'll get a free 8-count sample pack with any purchase, so you can find your favorite flavor or you can even share it with a friend. And it's completely risk-free. If you don't love it, they'll refund your order, no questions asked. Again, head to drinkelement.com/KetoFocus to get yours. Now let's finish making these rolls. To our dry ingredients, add in 4 tablespoons of softened unsalted butter. I cube up mine because I just find it's easier to mix that way, but not necessary. Then add in 2 egg whites. And when I tested this recipe, I decided against adding the yolks because I found that it gave the rolls like too much of a yellowy color. Plus, you just don't need it. Then add in 4 teaspoons of sour cream. And this helps to give our rolls a delicious flavor. Then pour in the yeast mixture, and look at how lovely that yeast looks, and it smells so good. You can mix this up with a spoon, but I like to use an electric mixer. I just think it does a better job, but you do want to make sure that you don't overmix it or your rolls can actually deflate. Just mix it on a low speed until it's just combined. Then the last thing you need to add is psyllium husk. This is 2 teaspoons of psyllium husk powder, and we're gonna mix it with a 1/4 cup of warm water. And you wanna stir that until a thick jelly-like texture forms. Then add that to your mixture and mix it until it's combined. And I like to add in this psyllium husk because I think it helps with the texture of the rolls, but it also gives it a flavor. It gives the rolls this familiar whole wheat flavor. Next, I divide my dough into 8 roughly equal sized balls. Just roll them up in my hands. I like to use wet hands because I feel like it doesn't stick to my hands as much. And then place them on a parchment lined baking tray. After you have your 8 rolls rolled out, I like to set it aside in a warm location so that they can rise. You want to let them rise for around 30 minutes. I like to place mine on top of my oven while it's preheating. We're preheating that to 350 degrees. And then I cover them too with a towel just to help trap that heat inside. And after 30 minutes, you'll see that they rise a bit. They're not gonna double in size like some yeast roll recipes do, but they do inflate a little bit. The next step is optional, but I do like to do it because I think it gives our rolls this golden brown crust on top. And that step is to mix an egg white with a tablespoon of milk or cream or nut milk, and you just brush that on top of our proofed rolls. And I really don't think you should skip this step because it really does create that beautiful golden brown crust that is iconic of a yeast roll. These go into the oven to bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for around 16 to 18 minutes or until they are golden brown on top. Then remove and let them cool for a few minutes before serving. You can brush them with melted butter as a final step, or they're ready just like this for your holiday table with a spread of butter. These are so good and they smell amazing, but are they better than my original keto roll recipe that has hundreds of 5-star ratings and rave reviews? I don't know. Watch this video and you be the judge.